Much like this mutant space dog, I am filled with procrastination. How's she going, my son? And welcome back to another episode of Warframe, Specters of the Rail. We've confirmed in a recent dev stream that we won't be getting the War within the next major update, but we will be getting the new Warframe, Titania. In the meantime, we have gotten a change to one of the older Warframes, Nekros, the Spoopy Master of the Dead, through nanomachines, supposedly. Yeah, his ability's kind of borderline on, like, flat-out magic, but the setting doesn't have magic, so it's like, what's that saying? It's like any sufficiently advanced technology will be indistinguishable from magic. You know, it's basically what he's going with. And I have given him a pumpkin color scheme because I'm clever like that. Anyway, before we get started on what's different, I'll give you an idea of what he has to work with anyway. His 1 and 2, his Soul Punch and Terrify, have not been modified at all. Desecrate and Shadows of the Dead are the ones that got the big change. But anyway, Soul Punch. His 1, the super basic ability, punches a target, punching a whole bunch of life out of them, you know, represented by the damage it does, which is unfortunately impact damage, so it doesn't actually do a lot to a lot of things, like I've mentioned in previous videos, but, you know, it's relevant. However, excuse me. Pardon me. However, the target you hit with Soul Punch not only spreads projectiles to other targets nearby, it also gets hilariously ragdolled. Like, I'm talking into orbit kind of ragdolled. So it's a pretty damn effective form of crowd control. Gee, excuse me again. Oh, sorry. But you see a big old bombard or something in the distance lining up shots on you, just punch him in the next week and, worry about him when he finally gets back to you.
A new alert has begun. It will be marked.
Seriously, Ortis. Not Ortis. Lotus. You both talk too much. Anyway, Terrify didn't get changed from base, but it has an augment now. I'll talk about that as well. Soul Punch also has an augment, but it's one I don't use. You basically turn it into a ranged revive for party members, but I've never had a situation where I really needed it. I prefer to just get up and do it myself. Anyway, Terrify is the typical squishy caster, or squishy necromancer caster ability where you become really spoopy and everyone runs away from you. So you don't go squish. It also reduces armor in Warframe, which is interesting. I don't know why my value is lower than base, though. Oh. Huh. Okay. I must have like 90-something% power. I was about to say spell power. Power strength, so it must be getting slightly cut off the top there, but not enough to actually show a whole number difference. But, yeah, Terrify, without the augment to it, causes enemies to run at full speed and even increased speed the hell away from you. The augment causes the enemies to not only not get the speed bonus, but also get an increasing amount of slow based on your power strength. Starting at like 30, I want to say? Yeah, sounds about right. So, you end up with a far better control ability. Plus, in Warframe, slows also affect, well, for one thing, they stack. I don't know if you can stack it with multiple Nekros. Nekri? A gaggle of Nekroses. I don't know if you can stack it with multiple castings of Terrify from different Nekroses, but I'm 100% sure that you can stack it with Nova's Molecular Prime, the Terrify, an enemy just being affected by the cold status, stuff like that. And it does stack to a hilarious degree. I've seen videos where people, because since it also affects the rate of mobs hitting the ground, they can hit a mob with something that knocks them off the ground, like a blast proc, and they're stuck, suspended in midair, like some kind of beautiful ballet for like a good solid 10 seconds. Unless effects start wearing off, of course. Anyway, Desecrate. Desecrate by what it used to do, it still does what it used to do, but it's changed how you operated it. You used to have to tap the button to cast it, like any other ability, and it would attempt to frag all the corpses near you and make more loot pop out. But it would, whenever it popped out a health orb, it would possibly pop out something else, but it popped out health orbs pretty frequently. Now it's a toggled ability. You turn it on, and it only deducts energy or health from you, because there's a mod for this ability that makes it cost health instead, which is way more efficient. To it'll make you have an aura around yourself that mulches corpses up for you. However, they removed the automatic health orb that you get, so the health orbs that do drop are possibly just in the loot table of stuff that the mob would have dropped anyway. I've done a little bit of playing with this before I started this video, and I don't notice that it's that bad, but you're not going to end up with the absolute glut of health orbs on the ground like you used to. Although, honestly, just a side note, the only time health orbs are ever really useful is when you have a glut of them. Because they only restore 25. And, like, even if you're not Inaros with his possibly 5,000 health, you can end up with, like, 1,000 plus on most Warframes. You know, any of the Warframes that don't have less than 300 base health at level 30 are going to have, like, 1,000 health. So 25 is not enough. It needs to scale in some way. At least I think so. Shadows of the Dead. His, straight-up classic Necromancer, you died, now I make you my bitch ability. It used to have a very large cap on how many things you could control. People were reporting being able to get, like, 20-plus controlled minions. Unfortunately, this causes problems on lower-end computers. I never experienced it personally, even when other Nekros were using it and I was using it myself, although I never had enough power strength to make it affect that many targets, but it was a problem, so they had to find a creative workaround. The shadows are now individually a lot more powerful, and not only that, the ability prioritizes picking up better enemies. Something I'm going to test in this video to see exactly what they mean by that. But just brain went right out of my head. But it values higher priority summons more than just sheer numbers, and you have a hard cap of 7, but they're significantly stronger. And I'm assuming I also assume scaling on power strength are even stronger still. Like, from your power strength, but also by default they're a lot better than they used to be. So each one is doing the work of like 2 or 3 of the generic ones you had before. They don't have a set health or timer anymore, which was a big problem with it before as well. They now have like a perpetual life decay effect on them that you can reduce with power duration. And when you reduce it with power duration enough, mine is only 1.36% of their health per second. By default, it's like 2 something? It's 3. It's 3. So I've got it down to under half of that. So, it ends up being pretty efficient. And recasting Shadows of the Dead will replace any lost shadows, but also heal the ones that are still standing. So if you've got a couple of bombards or a nullifier or 2 and you want to keep them around, keep casting Shadows of the Dead whenever you see their health starting to dip. Now, I noticed, just personal noticing here, it doesn't seem like... this ability seems significantly worse for Corpus units, because it eats into both their health and their shields when they, from the decay over time. Whereas with a Grineer, or even an infested enemy, you're just chipping into their life bar, into their one bigger life bar, because Corpus enemies tend to have less literal health than they have total of health and shields, barring some weird exceptions like the Techs, who for some reason have really tiny shields and a humongous health bars. Why, I don't know. Anyway. Just, go test this out. Let's get Spoopy. Nah, none of those really worth my time. One of my syndicates? Yes, let's go do one of my syndicates. So, you turn on Desecrate, and then you have the Spoopy aura, although mine is orange, so it's kind of goofy looking. And whenever you're near enemies, they start exploding like popcorn, and possibly dropping additional loot. Now, it's only a 54% chance of additional loot, so it's not a very high odds, but it is something. I kind of enjoy the fact that it isn't like 100%, because versus like the Infested, for example, where you can fight a lot more numerous amount of enemies, you could very easily kill yourself by just grinding up too many enemies off your health total, or being perpetually if you're running off of energy still. If you're not using the Despoil augment, which is what lets you desecrate for health instead of energy. I really need the what is it? I really need the Equilibrium mod. It only drops off of one frustratingly hard to get to boss though. Not to mention frustratingly hard to kill. Just because it's a boss fight that's full of like invulnerable bullshit armor and exposed weak points that don't always work because of lag. Even if your system is really good, the server and your game will disagree on where your shot landed and you won't get the hit. That kind of nonsense. Okay, we got a couple kills under our belt. So, Shadows of the Dead. Wait, is it eating into their health and shields, or is it only eating into their health? It's only eating into their health, so I'm actually mistaken on my earlier assessment on using Corpus enemies. Admittedly, if anything hits their health, they'll probably die because they don't have a lot to begin with as Corpus. Oh, that ability is amazing. It looks like it actually kicks around people that the body flies into as well, which is hilarious. Oh. You can't ragdoll the Ospreys, the flying robots, unfortunately. Nope. Pyramid. Was just on the forums recently looking up the actual specific changes. Pretty much the biggest changes are to Nekros in this patch, but they also did a couple other fixes and stuff, which is good. You know, it's always good to iron out your bugs. Iron out your bugs in your video games. You know, barring the ones that actually end up being cool mechanics themselves. Then you legitimize them. At least I think so. What was I saying? Oh yeah, I was on the forums looking up Nekros stuff, and people seem to bring up the idea that what was it? They were bringing up the fact that Nekros's new Desecrate is actually like significantly less efficient and less effective than the previous version. But on the counterpoint, you can actually play the game when using this version, instead of being, you know, perpetually tied to your 3 button. Because, you know, before, you had to basically spam this. Riveting. I mean, don't get me wrong, people loved you. You got them extra loot. What's not to love? But, you know, the fact that, you know, it's now less frequent to go off and doesn't even always get you something. Because Nekros has always had the weird distinction of being one of the extra loot frames that doesn't always get something. Because Hydroid almost always gets something. Sometimes people just drop nothing. But Nekros sometimes fails to loot, if that makes any sense. Like, Hydroid always loots with his tentacle, with the Pilfering Swarm, the tentacle augment that makes them basically beat loot out of people. But sometimes the mob just doesn't drop anything, because I'm assuming the loot tables have a couple empty spots on them. You know, like in most video games. You know, with randomized loot tables. But Nekros only has a chance of hitting that loot table with Desecrate, and even then, he might still get nothing. It's a bit of a, like, double RNG, double dip thing that I kind of wish they'd fix. Because, I mean, if we don't always get health orbs, the danger of having the perpetual Desecrate machine without outside assistance is pretty much solves itself. You know, so it wouldn't be that big of a deal, I don't think. But with it as it is now, it's kind of the worst version of the extra loot finding. Admittedly, it works better for having a team member that does something other than the loot finding ability. But Hydroid's is a damage ability. It's a very good damage ability, actually, because it does finisher damage, and hits a lot of people and keeps them from attacking while they're getting beat up by tentacles. And Ivara's, while not very good in like hectic team play, is one of the better loot finding abilities in the game because it lets you pickpocket people, getting a loot from them and possibly getting a loot when you kill them as well. So you get the double dip. Not something you do with potato chips, but something you do with loot tables as often as possible. So, you know, it's like Nekros is... They could give it another pass on the Desecrate, I think, just to make it a little better. Also, there have been reports of it being slow to mulch up the bodies. Although I'm not noticing that too much. Mind you, I'm not flying around at, like, rocket speed, bouncing off the walls with bullet jumps and stuff, and, you know, basically speedrunning the level. So maybe I'm playing at the right speed, and everyone else is playing at, or people that are complaining about it are playing at the wrong speed or too fast, is one way to put it. Because, I mean, it's not the wrong speed. You're just playing it faster. But you might be playing it too fast for this particular ability to work. So fixing that might be useful. However, I'm also wondering if natural talent affects the speed at which corpses get mulched. Because natural talent decreases the casting time on any ability that is legitimate, that is a target for it. Not every ability can be affected by it, but, you know, Nekros is, you know, whoops. Nekros is, this was affected by it, which is why I still have it equipped. But now it's, you know, it's the toggle now. But I'm wondering if the rate at which corpses are mulched is affected by that ability still. You know, like the game is internally casting Desecrate every time you're near a body if you have it running, sort of thing. I mean, if I could data mine, I would, and I would find this out. But I have a feeling DE would not appreciate people data mining their game, because it's a little different when you data mine a single-player game versus data mining a public game of some kind. Oh, Bursa. Let's summon some dudes. Some dudes made of nanomachines, I guess. Bam. Wow, that did shit all. Oh god, rockets. Ow. Really punch through ignores the stupid hockey pads these guys have. Are you dead? You are dead. Okay. Let's hack you. Hack you and have you come along for the ride for a little bit. And a good thing about the Shadows of the Dead, when you're casting it just to refresh your dudes, faster cast time. Still full mana cost though, or energy cost. Same shit, different day. The bar that lets you do the fun stuff. Do I have this one? I do not. Ah, I have all of it now, though. Awesome. I might do a video on those once I get them all. Because there's apparently, like, Easter egg lore spoily bits if you have all of them. Or if you have, like, a full set of a particular one or whatever. So, well, let's find out. Plus, I mean, it's a little art gallery episode, I guess, because you get all the cool artwork when you find all of those of a particular kind. And you find the full set. Gotta catch them all and all that. Yeah, hold up. Might be a syndicate thing up here. No? Okay. I wonder if Desecrate still counts enemies that are gibbed into multiple pieces as multiple bodies. Because that could get kind of disastrous with the automatic Desecrate with the health cost version. If you chop enemies into fine enough powder, more or less. You know, if you're emulating the Fallout Bloody Mess perk with all of your kills, you know, turning one guy into like 5 parts and then mulching them all up 5 costs of the ability, it'll start adding up really quickly. But at the same time, you might be hitting a lot of health orbs and just being fine. You know, it all depends. Oh. I got a thing. Ooh, 200 days Primed Fury. Want so bad. Wah, wah. Oh well. Excuse me. Better than a kick in the genitals, I guess. Nibbles. What was I doing with you? Oh yes, claiming your DNA. Because I want to make you. I want to make your species so it has your abilities, but with the appearance of this guy. Yes, I realize the irony in the fact that I'm fiddling with this nonsense when I said in the previous episode that I found it a waste of time. I mostly want to try to do this to make a fat buck. I'll admit. Because I ended up with this guy, like I said, who had the lotus symbol on his face. But I'm having trouble selling it because of the breed he is and the fact that he's, you know, he's so small. He's, you know, a little coyote dog. But then I'm like, okay, so I got one imprint of this guy, who is the fetching / disarming people one. AKA just the disarming people one, because I don't use the other ability. But then I ended up with one I didn't keep so far. Or was this him? This might have been him. But I ended up with one that was really swole. Like, I'm just like, whoa. Bro, you jacked. So I'm like, okay. Let's take one of this guy. Take one of this guy. And end up with one that has the markings on the face. You have to change the color, but you can see them. And you have to change the color with, like, your customization options. And, you know, have the bulk and the cool lotus symbol on the face. You know, hopefully, mad profit, but we'll see what happens. I mean, this doesn't cost me platinum to do. This is just in-game resources, so... And it's also in-game resources I have way the crap too many of, so why the fuck not? Basically. Anyway, I'm going to go to the simulacrum, because I need to test the priority list, if you will. You mind? I need to test, like, the priority list on the Shadows of the Dead. Or at least a couple of tests. I'm not going to go through all of them, all the possibilities, because there's a lot of possible mobs that you could be grabbing. And although I have to say, personal note, I love abilities like this in video games. Where, like, enemies as a resource type things. Like, the classic example in my mind is blue magic. Actually, I was going to cut, but I think I'll just walk and talk. Yeah, blue magic in the Final Fantasy games. And Vampires in Bravely Default as well. A very good game, by the way. The idea that you can learn this huge list of techniques from enemies and use enemy attacks to, you know, to do stuff you normally can't do with any other class's abilities. And, you know, use their powers against them kind of vibe. I think that shit is really cool. Shapeshifters are fun as well, particularly if your forms are based off of enemies in the game, because then you get that same vibe, but then you take it to the next level, where you have the body of the enemies as well, so you get, like, different, like, I can't really think of a game where this is super applicant other than just, like, D&D, I guess, because, you know, you can kind of do whatever you want in that game within the rules, and by exploiting the rules. God bless 3.5. But, might as well use the elevator. Even though Space Ninja. But, yeah, like, the ability to turn into monsters and, like, change your means of locomotion and your basic abilities and just your size. I mean, that's another cool way to do it. But Necromancer-type characters, where you pick up the bodies of your fallen enemies and make them fight for you, is always a good one, too. Particularly when, like, it's not just, like, mass resurrecting, like, generic zombies, where it's actually more like, this guy has cool abilities. I'm gonna pick him, I'm gonna murder him, pick him up, and have him use those cool abilities for me, instead of anyone else. And throw it against his former companions, and, oh, hey, look, they have cool abilities too, resurrect them. You know, like, I like that kind of gameplay. And particularly fun, because, Titania is going to be doing that in the future, the Fairy Warframe. Because she's got an ability that basically rips a buff out of an enemy, and they're talking about making it based off of what enemy you rip out of, instead of, like, maybe just what faction. But they're thinking it might be too complicated, but, you know, over here I'm, like, salivating at the mouth going, oh god, yes, give me the options. All the little buffs. Oh, just give them to me. But, yeah, you know, it's kind of that thing. Anyway, we are going to test and see if how good Nekros's priority is on mobs. Now, our baseline is we're going to have 8 butchers. We're just going to have 8 normal-ass butchers. Well, actually 7, because that's the amount of dudes we can store. Okay. You all dead yet? I think you're all dead. Okay. Oh, balls. I don't have any energy. Hang on. Hang on. Hopefully this doesn't reset my pool of killed creatures. Nope. Okay. So, we have our 7 dudes. This is our what do you call it in the scientific community? This is our control group. That's the one. These dudes, I have no other things to summon, and so I summon these. Now, I'm going to kill another group of 7 of these. Oh. Okay, that's good to know for testing purposes. That they die if I come up here. Okay, so I'm going to kill another 7 of these guys. All of them? I really should have picked mobs that would stay close together for this test. Oh well. I think... yeah, we got them all. Okay, so... oh no, I missed one. Where is he? Now, whatever. Okay. So I actually shouldn't have summoned those guys, because I needed to keep them in my memory. You know, air quotes. Yeah, you guys all die. Load up myself. Reload my gun. Make another 7 of these. I'll get this right one day, guys. Okay. So we've got 7 of these guys in our memory. Now I'm going to go for just Lancers, like the basic shooting unit of the Grineer. It'll be these guys, though, because I don't want to be here all day looking for the proper ones. They're the same thing. They're just the underwater Uranus tileset equivalent. Okay, so I will kill these gentlemen. And then I will see... I think that's all of them. Now, we have 7 butchers and 7 lancers in our storage, give or take. Let's see what we actually get out of our ability. Huh. It actually classifies the lancers as weaker than these guys. Okay. I guess maybe melee guys would be more useful because they don't get trapped in cover as much. And they actually, you know, they chase down people. So I guess that's a thing. Now let's see about... okay, we'll have our control again. Come on. Our control. Okay. So Lancers aren't worth more than Butchers. Let's see if Elite Lancers are, because obviously they have the better armor, and they have the they got the better armor, and they have the better they have guns, and they have better guns than the regular Lancers. Elite Lancer, here we go. Now these are the underwater ones, so they have the harpoon burst fire weapon instead of the Hind, which is the 5-shot burst fire weapon. And they look significantly different, but... Huh. What the hell? It summoned the... it summoned the last 7 guys I killed before the guys I killed just now. Wait, so if I go and get these guys killed by going up here... and then go down here again and summon new ones, it'll be the butchers again. What? Okay, no, I had a wave of butchers before I had the wave of elite dudes. So now it should summon the elite lancers that I killed. Okay. And some of them have the backpacks. Some of them have the portable walls. That's funny. I wonder if they can use them. Anyway, so by the looks of it, the game just uses the first 7 things in your kill list that it can. And by the looks of it, it doesn't really care what it's summoning. So it might not actually have that supposed... what do you call it? That supposed, like, preference for better units. Like, for heavy units, for example, as they said. Which is interesting. Boys last a pretty long time, too. Now, admittedly, this is with them not getting shot. So, obviously, getting shot would make them die faster, because it would obviously, that's what getting shot does. But, assuming they're not getting shot for a whole lot, they last a pretty decent amount of time with the amount of duration I have. Admittedly, I stacked it for this build because of, the changes, but, you know, it's something. And then they all drop dead. And you can mulch up your own dudes, but they only ever drop health balls. They do not drop anything else. Because that would potentially let you double dip on loot tables almost ad infinitum. And that would be bad. Hilarious, though, but that would be bad. Okay, so... that's... oh, yeah. Before I go, I think I'll show off one ability, because I never actually used it in the mission, because I didn't really feel the need to. And that's Terrify. Bah! Super slow motion. Yeah, I have slightly negative range on this build. Like, literally I'm at like 94% instead of 100%. So I'm not clipping a whole lot of people with my Spoopy ability, but, you know. It's more of a, like, oh shit, everyone's completely surrounding me and punching my face in. Blah, get away. I'm Spoopy! And everyone runs away. Really slowly, for some reason. Video games. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Apologies for another lull in content. I'm having trouble staying consistent, as I've mentioned in the previous episode of this series, and just in general. I had trouble staying consistent, and as much as doing Warframe videos is cool, I kind of like just playing the game in my spare time, which I kind of could be spending more on the channel, so it's kind of a love-hate relationship in terms of my channel and Warframe and all that stuff. But I am considering doing a more long-term series about this game, because there's a particular mod I love to pieces, and I want to test it, since I own every Warframe in the game now, until Titania is released anyway. I want to test and see which Warframes can make a viable Rage build. Because Rage, it doesn't replace your ability to get energy by picking it up off the ground, as the blue balls. Yeah. But it can give you an alternative, where if you have a build where you take a lot of health damage, or just the way you play, you get rewarded with energy. And if you just pair it up with the right abilities, or stack a lot of armor, or yada yada yada, you end up with the ability to have perpetual power use, which is always good, because a lot of the powers in Warframe are kind of stupidly broken. And you know, that's the best kind of ability. At least in my mind. Anyway. But, you know, not all Warframes are created equal, so I kind of wanted to do a little series where I do builds with Rage on every Warframe in order, and give them a rating on how good they are with Rage. For the record, I'm calling it the Inaros scale, because as we all know, even if you're just a casual watcher of my content, Inaros is goddamn amazing with Rage. He is literally the best Warframe in the game for it. So no one will get a perfect 10 on the Inaros scale except Inaros himself, because he's the only one who is Inaros and has the mechanic of no shield and a shit ton of health. But, you know, the other Warframes may come close. Just to give you an idea of some contenders. Atlas was one, because I got him recently. I was playing with Atlas for a while. And he was pretty good with Rage. Because his shields are only normal. Yeah, his shields are only normal. His health is really good. Like, his shields are normal, his health is normal. His armor is fantastic. It's actually better than Inaros' base armor. And I believe it's up to, like, 78% reduction with all the mods I have equipped. Yeah, that's about it. Like, I'm pretty sure Atlas has, like, the second best armor in the game, just under Valkyrie. I want to call her Valkyrie, but Valkyr. Who is, you know, another very good candidate because of her absolutely ridiculous armor. Literally the best in the game. You know, 1500 after Steel Fiber. And Armored Agility, which is like 97% reduction or something dumb like that. Admittedly, the way armor works in this, some damage types bypass your armor. Radiation in particular for Tenno, you know, Warframes, because their armor is always alloy armor. And corrosive procs would reduce your armor. Puncture damage ignores some of your armor, but not nearly as much as radiation. So, you know, it varies depending on how much damage you can actually soak. But for the most part, Valkyr and Inaros can soak a lot of goddamn damage. And it's to their actual health instead of to shields, meaning they can generate lots of rage, or generate lots of energy via rage, and just have a good old time all around. But, yeah, like, I'm going to give a rating scale on every Warframe. Some of them might rate really low, because, you know, for example, Banshee, God love her, you know, Quiet Shy, one of the better YouTubers of this game. She is not designed to do rage at all. Look at that armor. 15! That is pathetically low. That is literally like the worst armor value in the game. The only thing this armor value does is makes her take less damage from some things that alloy armor prevents damage from, like magnetic, shock, I believe is one of them. I don't remember at all off the top of my head of which ones it resists. And slash, I believe. But, like, she's almost... It would almost be better if she didn't have armor. And she just took damage to her health when she lost her shields instead. Admittedly, it means you couldn't increase her armor, but I mean, it goes up such a laughably small amount anyway when you do increase it due to the way it works with the mods, so, you know, it doesn't really help. But, you know, if her health didn't have an armor value on it, she wouldn't take bonus damage from radiation, for example. Because she basically does. She takes bonus damage from radiation instead of taking reduced damage, but less reduced than other damage types. Anyway, I'm rambling. But, you know, like, Banshee would get a pretty bad score at the Rage meter. But who knows? I might surprise myself with a particularly good build. Because part of the Inaros scale is how effective are they with the Rage equipped. You know, because some Warframes don't need a lot of energy, some do. Some have lots of energy, some generate energy themselves, you know, so it's all, there's a ton of variables. But anyway, thank you all so much for watching. Twitter, Tumblr, and subscription are in the description as usual. Please engage it. Please subscribe. I would love to grow the channel, and as much as I'm, I gotta admit, not putting a lot of effort into this, unfortunately, as I have been in the past. Again, like I mentioned before, my obsession has slightly waned with the channel, but I would still love to make it grow. I just need to kick myself in the figurative ass to get it working, because I'm pretty sure kicking myself in the literal ass is physically impossible, but, I mean, hell, I'd try. But do engage in the Twitter as well, because due to my infrequent uploading schedule, Twitter is a much more accurate update list of my my videos than the subscription box, even though the subscription box, like a broken clock, is right twice a day. The Tumblr, which I've kind of been neglecting as well. Interesting thought I had on it recently, but like it's like a single line question. It's not that big of a deal. But the Tumblr is optional, and it gives you some more of me if you're into that kind of thing. A lot of old Undertale headcanons, a lot of Magic the Gathering recently, and just some random thoughts that come into my head. Anyway, again, thank you all so much for watching, and ciao for now. I do love this place. I'm glad they'd stopped making the virtual reality world thing that we go to for the mastery tests and stuff, orange. It was very orange before. Like a freaking mid-2000s shooter.